Page 142, Shabbat Shalom. Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Yesharim, Aleichem Elyon. Melech, Aleichem Amachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Borechem leShalom. Borechem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Shalom. Barchuni l'shalom, malachei l'shalom, malachei elyon. Melech malachei hamachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seifkem l'shalom. Seifkem l'shalom, malachei l'shalom, malachei Shabbat Shalom and welcome. I'm always curious to see who shows up on a weekend like this, and the answer is the best people. We're so glad you're here. Thank you, Lynn. We want to welcome all who are here in the room with us, as well as everyone who's joining us over the live stream. I'm Cantor Julia Kadrain, so happy to be joined by Rabbi Ilana Nemetoff-Bressler. We have a wonderful musical team over here, Mike and Darwin and Rob. And we have Lester with us, as well as Chris and Sean on the board. We turn to welcoming in the light of Shabbat. Who do you think should light? I think you should light the candles.
I don't think I should. I think, who wants to light candles? I feel like you've done it recently. My mic's not on. Does someone else who hasn't done it recently want to light the candles?
I know, like, if you're observing a yard site, perhaps is a good reason to do it. Okay, a few of you. Wonderful. So we can have a little group up here. Welcome. In honor of your loved ones. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you, Marcy and Eileen.
We welcome Shabbat each week with Kabbalat Shabbat, our literally welcoming of Shabbat, and it is such an opportunity to put aside the week and just be together in song. And so we begin to continue our service on page 130 with L'chuna Ranana.
So we're doing L'chuna Ranana. I realize that might be slightly different than what you have. Is that what you have right now? We're going to sing unto God, so we're just switching the order of those two. So we're just going to go ahead one. Let us sing unto God, sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God, sing unto God a new song.
page 134.
Shula Adonai
131.
Shir Chadash Shula Adonai Kol Haaretz Shula Adonai Shir Chadash Shula Adonai Kol Haaretz Shula Adonai Baruch Shemo Tasuni Homei Homei Shuato Zaku Bagoyi Sheboda Zaku Ha'avi Tifota Tikana Shir Chadash Shula Adonai Kol
When Kendra Kadrain and I were talking about this weekend, we talked about how it's July 4th weekend. I know that's shocking to none of you. And when we talked about it, we talked about how light is a big part of July 4th experience, the fireworks. And I'm not sure exactly where that came from, but I'm sure one of you knows, but you can tell me afterwards. But what I do know is that fireworks, and especially the light from them, are so indicative of welcoming to me, that the light that they shed helps open up space. That we were on Campo Beach yesterday, and just seeing the sky fill up, it felt like welcoming. I don't know how to describe it besides that. And Lechadodi is welcoming. It's saying, welcome in to our Shabbat beloved. Come join us, or we're ready to join you. And what an incredible way to think about it, if not the light of Shabbat, the light of God is welcoming us back after another week. So we turn to pages 138 and 39 for Lechadodi, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. On verse 9, we'll rise and face the outside, or if you're at home, the entrance to your houses.
Lechadodi Rigatana Beni Shabbat Tekamena Lechadodi Rigatana Beni Shabbat Tekamena Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad Ishmiya לקראת שבת נקום ונלחם, יהי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם לסוכה, סוף מעשה. גם בשמחה ובצהלה, עם סגולה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה.
We turn to page 146 for Baruch. Please be seated.
It's a good thing they sing so well, right,
it is
Rabbi?
A good thing
You
they
too.
sing so well. I don't sing as well.
You all
but
too.
they do. You know what? How do you feel about doing some more singing?
I feel good about it.
Great. We're just going to go straight to singing. We're going to turn to page 152 and join together in Shema as we sing and listen simultaneously.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך
ובכל
מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשיטתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לעולכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני Adonai Elohim. We'll move to page 152 for our Song of Freedom. 158, thank you. 158. We sing our Song of Freedom to, it will be a familiar melody. This is a weekend when we think about freedom. And we're acutely aware of all the freedoms that we don't have and all the ways in which we personally are not free and our culture isn't free and our nation. And at the same time, there is an internal freedom that we can access that only belongs to us, that no one can take away, that no one can impact. And we can tap into that sense of inner freedom when we do just what we've been doing, when we join our voices together. So we sing this song of freedom with the hope and the prayer that we can all feel free. Page 160. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom V'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Spread the shelter of your peace. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom V'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu
Amidah, our central prayer, is not one of our traditional prayers that we need a minyan for, but it is so much richer when we join our voices together as a tapestry of voices, lifting up whatever we might need to say to God. We turn to page 164, and I invite you to rise or sit as you feel moved. We pray.
Adonai, Svatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid, Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Havot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Gula Livnei V'Nehem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magin Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol, Atah Rav Le'Hoshia, Morid Hatah, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Tzomech Noflim V'Rofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Michamocha B'Givurot, Umidomelach, Melech Memit Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'Neheman Atah L'Hachayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Atah Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim Lechol Yom Yehalelucha Selah. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We'll continue now with our own personal reflection and prayer. You may choose to use the words in the books or simply the words in your own heart. I want to offer one way for us to enter into this personal time of reflection, which is with a couple of simple breaths. So we'll inhale in a moment together and just say to ourselves, may I be free, and exhale, may we be free, just internally inside. So we'll breathe in. May I be free. May we be free. Inhaling, may I be free. May we be free. One more together. Inhaling, may I be free. Exhaling, may we be free. So we'll continue now. Feel free to use that if it helps you. Stand or sit as you're comfortable. page 164. This is a new melody for Shalom Rav that we introduced last week. Maybe I'm sure the page is wrong. Most likely it is. What is it?
170.
Thank you very much. 170, 170, 178. Okay, well, thank you. I'm just consistently wrong. This is a new melody for Shalom Rav that we introduced last week. So if you were here last week, you may have heard it. This is by Alana Arian. Make of us a house for all people. Gather us in hope for all people. Surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech Adon lechol shalom. Ki ata melech Adon lechol shalom. Lechol shalom. Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech Adon et Amcha Make of us a house for all people, a house for all people. Gather us in hope for all people. Surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. We'll turn our thoughts now in the direction of those who need healing. Healing of body, healing of mind, healing of spirit. As always, we invite you to include yourself on that list if you need healing yourself. I'll offer up some names that have been made known to us, and then I'll open it up for you to share more of your own. Marta Adams, Marlene Blumenthal, James Bruni, Freda Easton, Steve Elliott, Jackie Fuchs, Roy Fuchs, Lanny Gans, Skylar Grossberg, John Hall, Jeff Helfand, David Hidalgo, Peter Hort, Penny Costley, Ann Beth Katz, Natalie Kellner, Phyllis Kamansky, Mark Krigsman, Sophie Lazary, Don Matthews, Tammy Moallem, Barbara Nash, Ruth Ocean, Alton Parody, Francine Plaza, Carol Randell, Dorothy Reynolds, Robbie Reggiano, Deborah Lynn Moss, Michael Selikoff, Cantor Richard Silverman, Kathy Soroka, Esther Stone, Karen Sugarman, Sandy Troy, Joan Wetzler, Yocheved Sarah Bat Itel, Rivka Bat Chaya Mordechai. If you have a name you'd like to share, I'll invite you to say it aloud now.
My friend Deb Chakowski.
My friend Sharon Stewart.
If you have a name in your mind and you're not in the room, we'll invite you to simply say it out loud wherever you are, or if you're watching on Facebook, you can type it into the comments. May the source of strength, oh bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekol habracha lamotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Give me a minute, she said. Just give me one moment to think and reflect. I want to answer you honestly. Any one of you who knows me, which is most of you, know that I struggle with that kind of speaking, that kind of humility and presence to say, just let me pause for a moment. And I've both witnessed and experienced that power of pausing, of recognizing that I don't yet have the answer, but I can give a valuable one if I take a stop. This simple, read not simple at all, comment is one I learned to internalize this past week at a conference. We learned about these two concepts centered on listening and speaking with curiosity. They highlight reflecting back what we hear, ascertaining a need or value at play in our own and the other person's concerns, and inviting more so that each party feels respected and appreciated. They enlist the use of facts to make points, but allow space for vulnerability and require clear messaging without making the other party guess at the meanings. At the conference, we discussed what it looks like for someone to listen deeply and respond from a place of values and vulnerability. Not something everyone possesses. This particular way of listening comprises of one set of skills for showing up in conversation with presence, curiosity, and compassion. Particularly useful in cases of conflict, this way of listening requires the listener to put aside all preconceived notions, address the concerns of the speaker, and hopefully address the difference of opinion. The second level of skills for these same conversations focuses on how we respond to what we hear. Speaking from a place of authenticity, clarity, and courage, a respondent wants to help resolve conflict, understanding the other, and work collaboratively, all while using values as the foundation and taking time to understand that both parties understand what is being said. These two ways of listening and speaking respectively are not easy to actualize. We get wrapped up in our conversations, we become emotional, we forget ourselves. Not only does this happen in our lives, unsurprisingly, it happens in Jewish history as well. In particular, I want to speak about a story that occurred in the desert, where Moses and Aaron are leading the Hebrews through the desert, putting up with their complaints and dealing with the heat of the desert and likely exhaustion and more complaints. One day, Korach, along with his henchmen, decides to stage a rebellion. He says, "Come on, Moses, what's going on? Why don't you let us have some control for a moment? We want to rule ourselves. We want more power. We think you're doing too much and it's not fair." The complaints of Korach, along with another 252 men, made relative sense on the surface. Korach and the Levites were specifically given the task of caring for the tabernacle. They were of the same family as Aaron, but felt taken advantage of because he had this position of power and they had none. It wasn't fair, even though they were responsible for the tabernacle. They did have responsibility. Others wanted political power as they were from a different tribe from Korach and felt they had no responsibility. Both groups wanted to stage a rebellion, according to our rabbis. The challenge is that the rebels only saw that Moses and Aaron have too much responsibility and that they want more as they too are holy. Where we get the fact that these men are rebelling is from our Mishnah, which tells us this is not all that it seems. Korach's argument is specifically not intended in any way that would lead towards growth or connection. He wanted to pick a fight. Moses then responds to the men and says, "Gone too far, sons of Korach. Enough. God already set you aside to be holy in the work you do in the tabernacle. Leave it alone." Moses tells them they're complaining without cause. So then he says, God will judge the situation and determine who is holy and who isn't. If you're not holy, you'll be swallowed up by the ground. I cannot make that up. They beg of God to not do this, but God does anyway. Korach and his men seem mostly reasonable in the way I presented them, and I don't want to pass judgment today on whether or not the men's concerns are valid or presented as such. But what I'd like us to do is imagine a conversation, what it would have looked like if both sides had utilized the tools I spoke of above, of listening in a present way and speaking in a way of responding from a place of trying to understand differences. Maybe if Korach felt he had space to voice his concerns, to share what he needed in that moment, he would have felt validated and wouldn't have led a full-fledged rebellion. He might have said, "You know what, Moses? I don't feel like I or my people are truly valued in this community. I and we want to feel included, like we have power, but it feels like you have all the power. This is really hard. And it seems like God just chose you, not really considering whether any of us might be better for the job. What's up with that?" Maybe if Moses wasn't trying to do 1,000,001 things at once, leading a people is not hard at all. He could have listened with curiosity and compassion, attempting to distill the facts and then respond to Korach and his men with facts and thoughtful vulnerability. In fact, the Tanya, a corpus of Jewish texts, suggests that Moses did take a moment to pause, to see where his response to Korach was coming from, and only when he did some personal reflection did he realize that he could respond with compassion. Maybe like this: "Wow, Korach, I'm hearing a lot of anger from you. However, I'm not sure I can respond in this moment. Can you give me just a moment to pause? Because I want to honor what you're saying, but I need to think about it for a second." Korach nods at him, so he pauses. "You know what, Korach? I hear you. And I hear that you seem concerned you aren't valued by your community, by our community. I imagine how hard that must be for you. It sounds like you want autonomy and power. I think we might have different perspectives on my leadership and how I came to be in this position of power. But I want to respond thoughtfully, even though we have differences. Do you think you can listen to what I have to say, and maybe we can talk together, create a dialogue? Korach sat there begrudgingly, not responding, and then after a few breaths, respectfully, hopefully, might have said something like, yeah, I guess I can try. Moses, taking it as a good sign, would respond, it sounds like you're afraid of becoming irrelevant, and that's a really scary place to be. I can't fix the problem. Only God can do that. You know, I was scared, too, to consider what it meant for me to become a leader. Maybe we can talk about what leadership you already possess and how you can lead your people in the best way possible. I can share what's worked for me and maybe find places to help you assert your voice more. Korach's response, I guess, but how would you know what I want? You're God's right-hand man. You get everything. Moses' response, feeling connected is really important. I think we want the same things, to be a strong, functional community. We won't always agree on how to get there or how to lead it, but let's try to keep our dialogue open. At this point, hopefully, Korach feels heard and seen and is able to respond with compassion. Giving Korach that chance to speak and truly listen maybe might mean that his frustrations wouldn't bubble over into rebellion. Maybe. And maybe if he'd listened well, Moses and ultimately God wouldn't have reacted so vehemently against them, destroying Korach and his men through catastrophic actions. When we feel heard, we attack much less. Now, this conversation easily translates into our lives today. How often do we not want to give others the chance to talk? Or how often do we not want to ask their values or where they're coming from? What about when we assume another's perspective because one belief they have is anathema to the way we see the world? We don't necessarily want to sit down and have those conversations or take the time for them. But when we do, we often end up in a much better, more holistic place. I know that many of us are still reeling from the Supreme Court's decision last week to repeal Roe versus Wade. Many of us don't want to hear what the other side believes or has to say because we believe they are so inherently wrong. I'm not suggesting you find someone with different opinions on abortion than you and start fighting. Recipe for disaster. Rather, find someone you disagree with about something else and find a place where you do have common ground. Discuss your love for your children, gardening, Shabbat on the beach, even living in Westport, Weston, wherever you might live. Find those places of common ground, and then you can work towards the much more challenging issue. I hear that you feel this, that you need this. Is that right? Can you help me make sure I've got it? Trying to practice actually hearing and listening and determining what action we can take to help our partner get there is what it takes to get to that next step. What would it look like for each of us to be willing to listen? I'm not saying we stop fighting for what we believe in, but maybe by listening, we can learn something more about ourselves or what another believes. And this becomes the first step in making a change, in taking our own personal actions. And from there, we can listen more about the harder concepts and go deeper and deeper.
Yasher Koach. After we hear meaningful words of Torah like we just did, we often continue with Aleinu, which is what we'll do today. However, we have a new melody for Aleinu tonight. Aleinu means it is on us. It is on us to take in these words, to practice that listening. This new version of Aleinu we shared last week, so if you were here with us last week, it won't feel quite so new. It's not in your book. I want to take a moment to teach you a very simple refrain. It sounds like this. Aleinu. leshabeach. It's time to live our praise. Aleinu leshabeach. It's time to live our praise. Let's try it together. Aleinu leshabeach. It's time to live our praise again. Aleinu leshabeach. It's time to live our praise. Aleinu leshabeach. Aleinu leshabeach. It's time to live our praise. Take us to another key now. Go for it. Go ahead. Keep playing. Aleinu leshabeach. It's time to live our praise. Even easier, right? Aleinu leshabeach. It's time to live our praise. It's up to us to call ourselves to task, to sing what's good and true, to bring about redemption. It's what we were free to do. For what's the point of being here if we're not moved to change our ways? Aleinu leshabeach. Aleinu leshabeach. It's time to live our praise. We are carrying the stories of the ones who came before. What stories will be told of us when we are here no more? We commit ourselves to action. It brings meaning to our days. Aleinu leshabeach. Aleinu leshabeach. It's time to live. It's time to live our praise. It's up to us to own the vision. We are an answer to a call. It's up to us to live the words we speak for the benefit of all. It's up to us to bow down deeply. There's a broken world to raise. Aleinu leshabeach. It's time to live our praise. Aleinu leshabeach. Aleinu leshabeach. It's time to live our praise. Aleinu leshabeach. It's time to live our praise.
We, in moments of grief, often feel like we're holding our breath. We hold on to so much, to love, sadness, anger, pain, hope. And yet we can't always put down our burden of it. Tonight and every Shabbat, every time we recite Kaddish, we receive permission to grieve in whatever way we need and to remember. Judaism provides that space each time we pray, and tonight is no exception. We do so by recalling the names of those who died recently and those who died at this time in years past. Those who've been taken from us within the past month are Edward Gaynor, father of Beth and Michael Lapat, Kenneth and Tanya Gaynor, grandfather of Allison, Mia Eberson, Joshua, and Nathan. Remember Ruth Jean Block Harris, mother of Wendy and Jeff, Dan, Jane and Jeff, grandmother of Stephen and Katie and Michael, Zoe and Dylan, Alex and Ben, Zichrono Livracha, wife of Michael Harris, Zichrono Livracha, and Ted S. Gladstone, father of Liz and David Martin, Richard and Lisa Gladstone, and Julie and Lorman Moyle, grandfather of Jennifer, Andrew, Matthew, Joshua, Chloe, Emily, Margot, Ella, and Stephen Zichrono Livracha, husband of Alexandra, Zichrona Livracha. And we remember those whose yurtzites occur this week: Alfred Baranoff, Stanley Braun, Robert F. Cohen, Joseph Epstein, Marilyn Feldman, Sandra Fletcher, Rona Gardner, Judith Gold Levine, Nathan Gordon, Simon Grishman, Mina Grossman, Edward Arnold Gruskin, Rose Harriton, Alan Harvey Harris, Esther Koletsky, Joseph Kushner, Ben Lambert, Beatrice Leiston, Cecilia Montrose, Edith Namias, Abraham Nair, Ken Pressman, Gerda Schuster, Morton Sternheim, Lois Tompkins. If you're remembering someone this evening, I invite you to rise and share their name out loud so we may hear you say their name. If you're on the live stream or on Facebook, we invite you to share the name of your loved one aloud as well. We turn to page 598 and join as a sacred community in these holy words, Mourner's Kaddish, and we rise. Yit gadol v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mivarach leolam omei omaya, yit barach v'ishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, V'chayim alinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom alinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. As together we say,
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen.
please be seated. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat
We are
shalom.
so glad you're here with us. We are so glad that you chose to come out and spend the beginning of your long weekend here with us. And we'll kick off your weekend with some Kiddush. We are on page 123 if you'd like to join us in Kiddush.
Thank you. We'll raise a glass in honor of all of us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratza banu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinkilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki banu bacharta ve'otanu kiddashta mikol ha'avim, ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat l'chaim. Thank you.
And now, for some motzi.
We love motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz v'te'amon. We close on page 377.
681.
There's two sets of pages that I just gave you a confusing one. Yes,
681.
681. play. Louder. From sea to shining sea. Shabbat shalom.